Let's take a look at the rail command. What the rail command is basically doing, it is taking a profile called generation curve in Alias and sweeping it along a rail curve. You find the rail command inside the surface tab, mrail, and the name actually might change based on some of the options we click. Currently we have everything set to 1. The way how this works is we tell Alias take this generation curve and sweep it along this rail. There we see that the start curve is also defining how the end of my surface looks. Now, for a moment, let me copy and paste this curve. And then I go to two profiles, 1 and 2, and one rail. Now in this case, you see that actually the end shape of my surface is defined by the second curve. And again, this is just like a sheet of paper. We work with 4 edges, and currently I'm defining all these edges how I would like those edges to look, and then the software also helps me defining how the surface has to bend. Now let's go one step further and say I would like to have a third curve. So 1, 2, and 3. Press spacebar or go, and the rail. And now you see actually it says span 2, which, let's say for the sake of exploring an idea right now, this is okay. In case we really would like to have good quality surfaces, of course, we would have to break this one down into 2 surfaces. Let's go one step further. There's a gap with an edit point and snapping to each span end. I'm patching in another curve. I'm using the EP curve because I can define those points through where I want my curve to flow. It is important that all those curves touch and rest on each other for the rail command to work. Let's go to 2 rails, 1, 2, 3, spacebar, 1, 2. Nothing happens. Rail curve. That was a problem. And for example, I now if I turn on rebuild, I get a surface. But you see all those green lines. That means Alias needed to add a lot of geometry to that surface, make it very complex, complicated to deform and sculpt or adjust afterwards. So again, also this for quick mockup is fine. For further quality production or refinement, not really. But for the moment, I just leave the surface. Let me go to this layer. So for example, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to here and say this and this. And keep it for the moment. Maybe generation curve 2. I already curious how this looks. Yeah, maybe I set it to imply tangency or curvature. Maybe I use tangency for the moment. Actually, let's go for curvature. Okay, next. So right here I have 2 possible curves. The curve I created and actually the edge of that surface. This is a clean edge, which is based on that profile, so I can select it, select this edge, select my rails, and then this generation 1, I actually set to curvature implied. And what this basically means is it it tries, if for example now I've set this to 0, you see how this pinches down. There's a kink. And with curvature, applied curvature, it tries to move the point so that even the mid area, the surface nicely flows together. Let's click next. Let's leave it. Let's zoom out a little bit. And for example, let's show the surface. And you see that there are certain differences. So again, the art here is to try to have really simplified surfaces, work really with the least amount of controlled vertices, and then try to sculpt the shape you want. And to prevent, for example, maybe more surface you want, but with a point density like here, which is not really usable.